Hey guys, Level Cap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. Tides of War, the new Game as a Service DLC model for Battlefield 5, is changing up the way content is added compared to previous Battlefield games. The game will initially launch with just two factions, the British and the Germans. Every few months, a big content update will drop that adds new factions, maps, weapons, challenges, skins, and story content. This will be the first time DLC content for a Battlefield game extends its campaign. While the franchise certainly isn't well known for its campaigns, the community has expressed an interest in story content that falls in line with the themes of each DLC release. Battlefield 1 in particular, with its war story style campaign, seemed like a great candidate for additional chapters. DICE are continuing the war stories design with Battlefield 5. It'll be interesting to see if they take community suggestions for some of the DLC campaign missions. Testing for PUBG's new map, SANHOK, has been extended until Monday. The devs are testing an adjustment to the maximum distance players are rendered at. Normally, PUBG only renders players within 1 kilometer of each other. Due to SANHOK's smaller size, this means that many more players than average were within that 1 kilometer radius of each other, which has a negative impact on server performance. The render distance has been adjusted specifically for SANHOK, and more testing is needed to ensure the fix works. PUBG's latest event mode is another take on the War Deathmatch mode introduced in previous events. This time, players spawn with the Kar 98 sniper rifle, a 4x scope ghillie suit handgun, and 1 frag grenade. Matches will play in a randomly chosen fixed area of Erangel. Landfall Games released a surprisingly successful Battle Royale game because essentially the game is a joke. Called Totally Accurate Battlegrounds, it's free to download and keep for the first 100 hours of release and has already racked up over 20,000 players. Once the first 100 hours passes, the game will be $5 on Steam. The game was originally announced as an April Fool's joke, but went into development shortly after due to the interest in it. Despite its comical nature, the game is actually pretty enjoyable, and overall reviews are generally positive. Shotguns in Fortnite are finally getting nerfed. The game is notorious for its 1v1 shotgun jump battles that often leave both sides frustrated and confused. The most powerful shotgun, the pump shotgun, has had its damage reduced to around 80 and its headshot multiplier dropped to 2 times. This means that it can't one-shot headshot players that have full health and shields. There are some other minor balance changes in the patch. For the full details, be sure to check the link in the description. The reveal trailer for the upcoming Battle Royale game Fear the Wolves has been released. It's not clear if it showcases actual gameplay or pre-rendered cutscenes intended to look like gameplay, but either way it certainly looks interesting. Players will parachute into a post-apocalyptic, radioactive wasteland and fight both other players and AI wolves. It looks like the objective is to stay alive, collect loot, and make it to a helicopter extraction point. Whether or not the game will let you keep your loot between matches, like Escape from Tarkov, is not yet clear. Fear the Wolves is being developed by the studio behind the free-to-play shooter Survarium, and it seems to take a lot of design and gameplay mechanics from it. It'll launch on Steam Early Access this summer with a console release to follow next year. Operation Parabellum is now live for Rainbow Six Siege. It includes 2 new operators, ALIBI and Maestro, as well as the new map, Villa. The new content was released alongside a pretty major patch that includes several balance changes, map tweaks, bug fixes, and more. A link to the rest of the patch notes is in the video description. Bungie revealed a new expansion for Destiny 2 called Forsaken. It seems like the first really major expansion for the game that will add meaningful content and extends the game's lifecycle. It adds a new combined PvE and PvP game mode called Gambit. It also includes a new raid set on a totally new world, which is home to the Awoken. Unlike previous Destiny expansions that just remixed existing assets and added some light story content, Forsaken looks like it includes totally new enemies and will really build on the game's campaign. It releases on September 4th. Treyarch announced 5 classic Black Ops maps will be returning in Black Ops 4. Jungle, Slums, Summit, Firing Range, and Nuketown will all be remade from the ground up for the new entry in the franchise. Reworked versions of Nuketown have been in every Black Ops title, so it was expected for this one, but aside from firing range, none of the other maps have returned since their original version. Jungle and Summit in particular were highlights of Black Ops 1. All 5 maps will be included with the game at launch. Hitman 2 has been announced. The franchise was in jeopardy last year as the game's developer was let go by their publisher, Square Enix. The new game will be published by Warner Brothers and is set to release on November 13th. How the game will fit in with the previous episodic game is unclear. Hitman was originally intended to launch as a complete title, but was later turned into an episodic release with new missions being added every few months. Players could buy all the missions at once or individually. It looks like Hitman 2 will launch with 6 locations, which might rule out episodic updates. The developer of the Just Cause franchise has announced a new game called Generation Zero. It's an open-world shooter that pits co-op groups of up to 4 players against killer robots. It's set in 1980s Sweden. Considering how zany and action-packed the Just Cause games have been, it's likely Generation Zero will be an intense and fun game. It releases sometime next year. In our final story this week, Intel and AMD both revealed new CPUs at this year's Computex PC Hardware Conference. Unfortunately for Intel, their announcement of a 28-core 5GHz CPU is speculated to be not much more than smoke and mirrors. They say it runs at 5GHz, but the unit they demoed was running with a super-powered chiller cooler, which is basically an industrial-grade CPU cooler designed to get hardware under 0 degrees Celsius. It's anyone's guess as to what the new CPU actually is, but the rumors are that it's just a repurposed Xeon part. As for AMD, they announced a new 32-core Threadripper 2 CPU. Considering how powerful the existing 16-core Threadripper CPUs are, the jump to 32 cores is pretty insane. It has also been confirmed that another 24-core version of the new CPU will also be released. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. Stay tuned tomorrow as the EA Play live stream event showing off a new trailer for Battlefield 5 will be revealed. I'll be covering that information. So, as always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.